What is up, party rental people? Sorry I'm 3 minutes late. Hectic day. I've been snow plowing since 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not going to miss this live stream though for you people. So here I am. Today I have Alex Cossio with me, and we're going to do some questions on insurance. Kind of give you guys the basics. I know there's a lot of people that have different misconceptions or questions, or they just straight up just want to find out a price. So, yeah, here we go. Alex, how about you introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me again, Justin. My name is Alex Cossio, the team leader at the Cossio Insurance Agency. We're a division of Brown & Brown of South Carolina. Appreciate you having us on. Been in the party equipment rental world for quite some time. I'm sure many of you know my dad, Larry. So I've been kind of brought up in this industry, and I'm happy to be here to answer any questions you guys may have.
I hear there. Yeah, so if you haven't already, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. But you can ask questions in the comments. If you're on Facebook, you can give StreamYard the permission to use your name, which means if you don't, it will come up Facebook user when you pop up a question. So if you give them access to your name on Facebook, your name will show up, or you can leave it as Facebook user. Either way is cool. But you can actually ask us questions right now for the live, and we can answer them. But how about we just give a rundown on insurance, Alex? Actually, here's a real quick question, or like a weird thing. So how, like, do you hate when people call you Cossio instead of Cossio? How long, because I still do it too. I'm horrible every single, and then you say it and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's how you say it, and then I still say it the wrong way.
It's up for debate. My dad will tell you something other. So to me, I didn't understand how the first O would sound differently than the second O, so I didn't understand why you would say it differently.
Oh, really? My last name's for you. Try saying my last name. It's more. Yeah. Look, did you try reading it?
No. You got a lot of vowels in there.
I don't understand it either. I don't understand how a C turns into a CH somehow.
Right.
But what's your sign? Don't even know what that means. I'm not even gonna try that Facebook user. I'm a Gemini, if that's what you mean. Maybe what is your sign in the background? Oh, see, I've been up too long. I'm a Gemini. Oops.
The sign.
What does the sign say?
The sign is, over the last 5 years, what the average claim has been with the party equipment rental industry. So you can see there the general liability was $43,000. Meanwhile, an accident claim was only $2,700. And then at the bottom there, you can see my daughter added a little bit of extra spice there to make sure that I don't get too down on myself sometimes when I read these numbers. So the sad part is you can barely tell her handwriting from mine, and she's 7. So.
It looks like the same person wrote it to me. How does an insurance company decide how much to charge? That's a good question.
That is a good question. So normally it's going to depend on a few things. Ishmael, I'm married, my man. Will the insurance company decide how much to charge based one? It's going to be on the inventory that you have. So if you have higher risk equipment, like a mechanical bull, you have a zip line, bungee trampoline, or a rock wall, even dunk tanks. Those are going to be higher risk items. So they're going to charge you a higher rate for it. Ultimately, it's all based on your gross sales projection for the upcoming 12 months. So a lot of people will put their sales down for what they did last year. You can definitely use that as a benchmark, but your insurance policy is always basically you're looking into the next 12 months into the future. So, if you did 80,000 last year, you're projecting to do 100,000 this year. They're going to go off of the $100,000 figure, not the 80,000. So another factor is going to be if you have any losses. So if you have losses within the last 5 years, typically you're no longer a preferred risk. You're going to be a little bit higher risk type of operation. So some of the preferred program markets aren't going to want to write you if you have any type of open claims, whether they're open or closed or not. So just kind of keep in mind that definitely impacts the rate that you would be charged, or even the markets that are available to you. So one thing that I definitely would like to harp on again is the importance of an accident policy, because it does help keep some of those liability claims from hitting your loss runs and impacting what you pay for the next 5 years.
I actually have. So you're saying I want to get on a topic too. Like it used to be where insurance, like say your gross sales, you do 100K a year. Let's make it easy. So you do 100K a year, and let's say 70K is bounce houses, but 30K is concession machines. It used to be where you'd actually, or in some other carriers and insurance carriers or companies, they charge you the whole 100K as it were a bounce house instead of 70K towards a bounce house and 30K just because. Am I paying bounce house liability for a snow cone machine? Like, so
Right.
that's, and then you can lighten on that a little bit.
Yeah, it used to be that way, mostly because the insurance carriers didn't have the ability to separate that out. They just basically had one filed rate, and it was just all encompassing. Anything that you guys had as a party equipment rental item was getting charged the same rate. But now you're seeing that the carriers are getting a little bit smarter. They're realizing that they shouldn't be charging the same rate for a table and a chair as the same as an inflatable. So you'll find that yes, they will charge you different rates based on the different classification of business. The biggest thing there is that you have to be able to prove what your sales are. So you people that don't have any rental software, you have no way of tracking that information. You don't have any, even if it's QuickBooks, just something that you can track what your sales are and to verify what your sales are to the insurance carrier. That's only going to help you get a better rate if you can show that and give them a report. So ERS, Inflatable Office, Bouncy Castle Network, you name it. I mean, those are the type of software companies that you guys should really be looking into so you can track this kind of stuff for your insurance purposes.
And you guys offer percent off for the first year if you do have a system like that, right?
Yes. We do give a discount for the software. It's obviously if you're at the minimum premium, we can't go any lower than the minimum. But yes, if you're above the minimum, you would get the discount and it would be applied.
Yeah, I'm saving my discount for another day. Can you? Hopefully. I haven't even asked that question. I was saving it. I never even asked it. Well, there's my question. Can you save that for later? So say I hook up, I signed up with ERS this year and I signed up with Cossio this year. Does it have to be within the first year?
You get the discount every year. It's not just the first year.
Oh, see, I hear so many different things. Like some people told me it's only for the first year. Some people told me it's only one time. And then some people, now you're telling me it's every single year you get a discount.
Mm-hmm. As long as you have
that's
the
what I
software.
thought it was. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So that's okay. That makes a lot more sense, and that's a lot better now. So that's why I have you on, bro, because there's so many different like this you know what I mean? It's he said, she said. I'd rather just hear from an actual licensed professional.
There you go.
Here we go. If a higher risk item has no accidents in let's say 3 years, is it still considered a higher risk item?
Yeah, the item itself isn't going to change. The fact that you're a safe operator is only going to help your loss history. So the years of management experience, years in business are definitely going to help your rates. So, if you're a new business versus somebody who's been in business for 3-4 years, the more experienced company is going to get a better rate just based on that factor. So, you definitely want to make sure that you guys are following all the same rules. Usually in year 2, year 3, that's when people think they've got it figured out. They start getting a little bit more laxed on their paperwork, getting the rental agreement signed or just having the safety checklists. You want to just make sure you're being consistent with that. Don't want to slack after you've been in business for a few years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Man, I had a good question. I forgot it now. So now the risk pool. So say you have, okay, so say like, is it a 5-year cap or is it like, okay, I've had no accidents for 20 years, but it's really only showing the past 5 or something.
Right.
Or so if you have an accident, is it like technically your record's clean after how many years?
Yeah. After 5 years, it falls off your record.
Oh, it is 5.
So, yep. So you might have had a claim 7 years ago, 6 years ago. It's not going to impact your rating basis for the insurance company because it's already been 5 years past the claim.
See, I didn't know that, and I'm just a good guesser. I am just getting into all the insurance. I'm running with liability right now, but looking to more to cover my products. So me and Alex did. We were just like, let's just do a video on just insurance. And so we did an hour long video, like just as much as we could really just talk about like every little nuance of insurance, all the different types of insurances, what they cover. And we can still probably add to that too. So that's a really, really good basis if you want to figure out bounce house insurance. If you want to know everything that we did a video, everything that liability covers, and then we have pretty much did a video that everybody thinks liability covers. So all the stuff that actually would be a separate policy. I would definitely check those out too. But off the top of your head, Alex, let's give her some more information too. We can't just point her somewhere else. We gotta give her an answer.
Oh, for sure. All right. So if you just have the general liability right now, if you're looking to cover your equipment, whether that's in your storage facility, while it's in transit, or while it's set up at the event, the name of that policy is Inland Marine. So it has a weird name. It's basically property policy for equipment that's mobile in nature. Biggest thing about that, the difference there is that inland marine policy, you can't cover the structure itself, whereas a property policy, you'd cover that building under that particular policy. So if you guys own your building, you need to have a property policy, but then you would also need to have an inland marine policy for the equipment as it moves from place to place.
What are the minimums?
What are the minimums? So we can go into that. So again, it depends on your sales, depends on your loss history. I would say in general, you're probably looking at somewhere around $2,000, just a rough guesstimate between the liability and the participant accident policy. In our program, you do have to have both. Again, the accident policy is the first layer of defense for you. You want to make sure that you're filing as many accident claims as you can versus liability claims. So keep that in mind. If you guys wanted higher limits, if you wanted to include the inland marine, that could definitely change that. Also, if you wanted to include cyber liability, so I'll just run through these, I guess. So inland marine policy.
Let's start off with let's just start off with liability and the participant accident policy, and let's treat everybody here like they don't know what that is.
Okay. So the general liability policy is going to be the one that everybody asks to get started. That's like, what is the bare bones minimum? So for us, it's two policies. It's the general liability and the participant accident. General liability usually somewhere between, say, $1,300 to $1,500 a year for a first-year company. And then your participant accident policy is going to start at $350 for the year. Inland marine is going to be roughly the same cost, about $350. I'd say cyber liability policies are going to be roughly $200 to $350. If you get a lower limit, if you wanted a higher limit, it might be like $300, $400. Commercial auto is going to be another one that you need to have. That's going to be somewhere in the $1,000 to $2,000 range if you only have one or two vehicles. Also, they'll depend on the driving record as well.
That's good, man. Appreciate it. All right. What happens if you overshoot your income for the year and businesses come back due to COVID? Do we get a refund like some insurance companies charge more at the end of the year if we have more income than we guessed?
So that depends on the way your policy was written. The instances that you're talking about. So if you say you put down you're going to do 100,000, you only did 70 or you only did 50. If your policy is written on a minimum and deposit basis, then you're not going to get any money back if you guys underperform versus what your projections were. We have a program right now that does give you a refund. The form wasn't on a minimum and deposit. So yes, if you did say you're going to do 100, you only did 70, you would get a refund based on that difference of $30,000 in sales. So we're recommending that you definitely, if you're going to have like a range, right? You can have a best case scenario, worst case scenario. If you're a brand new business coming into the game, don't put that you're going to do 100,000 in sales. That's a little ambitious. I would love for you guys to do that in your first year, but just, realistically speaking, it's probably better for you to be more conservative on the front side and then pay the additional balance at the end of the policy period. Just keep in mind that, if you do get into that situation, you have to pay an audit. That audit isn't going to happen until the policy expires, but then you're going to have to pay the difference in addition to renewing your insurance. So just make sure you set that money aside. If you guys, you start going over, or you get close to what your sales projection is for the insurance, just start socking some of that money away, save it up, so you're not getting a huge bill and you're caught off guard by it.
Is there fees for audits and stuff like that too?
No, there's no penalty for undershooting it. They're just going to charge you on a linear basis. Whatever.
So I want to explain that to everybody. Mm-hmm. There's no fee yet. If everybody just if undershoots everything like crazy every single year, and they have to do all these audits because you know what I mean, things like that. I've seen that happen in certain industries where you know what I mean, they just undershoot always. Okay, so now they're going to try and make, hey, well, if you undershoot, well, you know what I mean, you should be, you're almost better overshooting with some companies because it's less of a fee and they'll actually kick you back some because they'd rather deal with that than everybody owing them money. So,
well, the big kicker there is just to make sure that you have a way of tracking your sales, guys. I can't stress the importance of that enough. You know, getting the software is going to make your life so much easier when it comes to audit time. And you can just send them the report and they can just do what they need to do. And you guys get a clear answer on what you guys are going to be charged on. So that would be my biggest advice there.
somebody follows me on YouTube. I got a fan. Okay,
Hey,
great. Thank you. I'm running out of my home for now. Okay, bye. 2K costs. What volume of rentals? 20K in rentals. Is that still a minimum?
Yeah, that's probably still going to be the minimum. I'd say that for a first year company. Yeah, I mean, I think that would definitely be at the minimum. It also depends on the state you're in too. So just keep that in mind too.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain cyber liability?
Sure. So cyber liability is going to be there if you have any type of breach of private data. One of the many exclusions in a general liability policy is electronic data. So if anybody gets into your system, they gain access to any type of personal information like credit cards. So anybody who's processing credit cards, this is a policy you need to have. Also is going to protect you against ransomware, malware that gets installed on your computer and it causes a breach. You know, people don't think that it's going to happen to them. But if you don't spend a single dime on cybersecurity, you need to have this policy. It's so inexpensive. I mean, talking about like a minimum premium of like $100 to $200 a year for a $100,000 limit, you'll be kicking yourself if you didn't get this policy and you had some sort of a breach. You know, we were actually breached back in 2018, 2019, and you know, there was ransomware. You know, they locked us out of our system for 3 weeks in September, which is arguably one of our busiest times of the year. So think to yourself, if you were shut down, you know, out of ERS or IO for 3 weeks, what would that do to your business? So just, you know, think about that kind of stuff. You know, if you don't have access to Bitcoin, this is something that they handle from A to Z. Like as soon as you have the claim, you know, think about this. You get breached by somebody, you get ransomware. They say, hey, we're not going to give you access to your system unless you pay us $10,000. Who are you going to call? Like, who was your first phone call in that situation? And if you don't have cyber liability coverage, I mean, you're going to be dealing with that out of your own pocket, your own headache. It's going to be a huge hassle for you. You know, so the other things that it covers, like social engineering claims, where if somebody tries to say that they're, I don't know, they represent the school board, you know, they need you to wire some money to an account to hold your spot at a festival or something, and it turns out to be fake. That money can be clawed back by the cyber liability insurance company. So that way you don't have any type of out-of-pocket costs associated there as well. But, you know, the whole thing about ransomware, guys, is I swear, you know, you can have as much training as you want. You can have all these different procedures in place. All it takes is one of your employees or yourself to open up an email attachment. You know, it says, hey, you know, do you think this bounce house will fit in my backyard? You click on the attachment, boom, you have ransomware on your computer. So, you know, it doesn't matter. It's going to be an email attachment as simple as that, and boom, you have a cyber liability claim. And
I'm going to get even more in detail with this because I remember talking to you about this, and you said it's under the same policy. Even if you don't own a computer, if
right.
you have a secretary working for you and you take everybody's credit card information and keep it on file, which you should be for, I think, 3 years for tax information, you're supposed to keep filings of that electronically or paper. But yeah, something like that. So it's a long time. I know. And then some people even keep them longer than they should have, which is also a crime. And then so somebody goes into that file that you've had for 10 years, grabs a little piece of paper with somebody's credit card on it, goes start shopping. That would be covered under the cyber liability.
Right.
Would it not? Yeah.
It
So
yep.
Even though it's not cyber,
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you know what I mean? Fraud really protects you against within your business, right?
And the other thing too is if you do get a breach, think about how many customers you have, you know, in your system, how many customers that you process their credit cards. because not only if you have the breach do you have to let them know that you've been breached, but you also have to pay for the credit monitoring for them. So I think the average claim for per person is like $200 a person. So think of how many thousands of customers you may have in your system, how quickly that adds up. And again, that's covered under the cyber liability limits as well. So guys, I'm telling you, you'll be thanking me later. Just make sure you have that policy, or at least get a quote for it. You'll be surprised at how cheap it is.
That's a good question. Are vendors' inventory counted against our inventory?
Vendors' inventory? What do you mean by that?
I think he's basically saying, okay, how about we get into a couple scenarios, because I don't know. And if we're wrong, please clarify. If we can make that question a little bit more or less vague, we can definitely get a little bit more towards your answer. But the way I think this is saying is, if I subcontract you to go set up a bounce house or a tent, that falls under your insurance, because I'm just hiring you, right? Whereas, and if I tried using your equipment, that's a big no-no. And if I set up your equipment,
yes, you
that's
can't
a big
cover.
no. But if
you can't cover someone else's inventory under your policy if that's what you're asking. They have to have their own insurance on their own policy, or their own insurance on their own inventory. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does.
So what I'm trying to say is, okay, so if I set up your equipment and you have insurance on it, is it covered?
So the person who owns the equipment needs to be setting up the equipment, and they need to have a policy on their inventory. So
yeah, that's basically
okay,
if you want to subcontract something, I subcontract 40 by 100 tents. I literally just say, okay, the tent's coming to the client, and then I don't put any of their you know what I mean? They're getting a tent from me, but I'm not liable for the tent because another company's setting it up. So correct. You know what I mean? If something happened, I really have my own contract on the side behind the scenes with this company for their insurance and all their information. That is the only way that you're actually covered. If I share a warehouse, and this was brought up before, and we all have dunk tanks. If I'm not using my dunk tank, it's not covered. If I'm using their dunk tank with their serial numbers on it, it's not covered. But if I hire them to go set it up, then it's covered.
Correct. But the big thing here is that you need to be named as an additional insured on their insurance policy for that particular event. Because if there's an injury, say it doesn't even happen on your equipment, it happens on that tent that's you subcontracted, you're going to get named in the lawsuit because you're the one who they reached out to for the event, but the other company is the one that's actually going to have the insurance that pays for it. So if you get into a lawsuit because of that, and it was actually because the tent company set something up incorrectly, you're going to have defense cost coverage under their policy because you're named as an additional insured. So you guys just need to make sure that you do that, reciprocate that between each other. So that way you guys have coverage if the other person does something negligent that gets you sued, or at least gets you dragged into the lawsuit. And another thing, I would take it a step further and make sure that you have an endorsement, not just a certificate of insurance, but also have an endorsement, because an endorsement is an actual change to the policy. That means that you've been added to the policy. Certificate of insurance, it's a piece of paper, so people can forge that type of information as well.
Isn't that per event endorsements?
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it per event. You can do it for the entire policy period. It's really up to you as far as how you want to.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, it's obviously going to be more expensive if you endorse for the whole policy, right?
No, it's not a charge per the endorsement. It's more about if you want.
It's just the length.
Oh, yeah, the length of time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, for people that are curious, what's an endorsement? Why would you use that? Schools. The reason that most people even get insurance in the first place is be like, okay, well, they decide, I'm going to get a school and they're going to make me get it. So that's when a lot of people actually decide to get insurance, because they're risking the biscuit. They're okay with risking their house, but suddenly they're, you know what I mean? Oh, the school's not going to let me in. I want to get that extra $600 for the event. So I guess I'll get insurance now. Kind of weird thinking, but so yeah, you know what I mean? So then they'll get the insurance for the school, but then the school will be like, listen, list me as an additional insured. I will be endorsed on the contract or on the policy. So you're basically putting them on there for the day. That would be an endorsement. Or listing as an additional insured. Is that the same thing as an endorsement?
So no, they kind of go hand in hand, but they are two different things. So
that's what I just realized when I was saying it.
So, the certificate of insurance, that's the piece of paper showing that the person who's listed as a certificate holder is named as an additional insurance. You'll see at the bottom left corner, it shows who the certificate holder is, and that would be, the company that you're adding on. But in the description box, you'll see it says, for an event located at so-and-so on this date, the certificate holder is named as an additional insured. But unless you have an endorsement, which is an actual policy form, says, okay, it's usually like a CG26 or a CG2011. You'll see the number at the top of the form. But that is actually naming you and changing that other person's policy to add you as an additional insured. And usually they'll say some other wording like where required by contract. So
it's basically, so if I'm understanding correctly, one's just a sign, like, oh, you're just an assigned agreement, and one's an actual filing that's official.
Correct. Yeah. So the certificate of insurance that can be forged. People can do that, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, we named you as an additional insured.
And that's what made that's what kind of got that idea in my head when you're saying the forgery stuff, because one's an official like you can go ahead and sign yourself up and say you're a company, but you're not a company until you file with the state.
Right.
So it's like, so you're not an actual endorsed until you file for the endorsement. That's interesting.
And so that's why the schools and the parks and stuff, they'll need to see the copy of the CG 2026 or the CG 2011 so they know for sure that they're added on the policy.
Interesting. What are the most claims about? What should be caution of? Every single thing that you see on those rules, there's been a claim for. Let's just put it that way. And if you've been in the industry long enough, you'll hear some wild stories. But yeah, I'll let you go with this one, brother.
So I'll say it's a combination of two things. It's the type of equipment and lack of training or lack of supervision. So, the equipment, if you wanted to avoid higher risk or higher claims probability, stay away from mechanical bulls, especially if you've never operated one before. Stay away from that. It's generally going to be higher cost from the insurance standpoint, but also, like I said, a higher chance of an injury. Also, the units that have any type of a free fall element to them, like the cliff jumps or the stunt jumps, you have no control over what they do. You can tell them, till you're blue in the face, hey, don't do any back flips, don't do any front flips, don't jump on top of each other. But as soon as they leave that platform, you have no control over what they're going to do. So a lot of the insurance companies have definitely kind of shied away from those types of units. I mean, they are insurable, but just keep in mind that you're definitely going to potentially be paying a little bit more for the insurance cost.
Stunt jumps are insurable, but I'm pretty sure they're not inspectable in most states. The inspectors will not inspect them. They'll let you use them because they're not inspectable, but they don't want to be like, okay, I let them say that was okay. They won't even do it, but they'll actually, like, zip lines are inspectable, but stunt jumps are not, at least in New York and Maryland.
Other things to look out for are just super big slides. The issue with slides a lot of times is, again, lack of supervision, lack of training, lack of enforcement of the rules on how to operate it. We had that ERS con a week or two ago, and I showed the video of people that are they had like 6 or 7 kids going up the slide at one time, or they're going up the ladder to climb up it. If you don't have somebody controlling that, you can have a situation where you have one person at the top that slides down. They take out like everybody that's on the ladder underneath them. So controlling how many people are on that rider at one time is going to be so important to you guys, especially with slides, water slides for that matter. Slides are huge renters. They're probably one of the more popular things to rent out, but they also yield some of the bigger claims. So like water slides, for example, if they have a pool that's supposed to be an attachment on it, and you don't fill it up with water, if you forget to stake it down. There was a claim where somebody went up to the top of it and it flipped over backwards because they didn't have the counterweight on the front side with the water slide, and they didn't have it staked or sandbagged down. So again,
was that video with that fat kid?
Oh God.
Was that actually it?
Well, yes, but it was an employee thing. It was at I think it was an employer that had a slide set up for their employees. It was after hours, and they'd been drinking, and there you go.
That kid was like as big as me, man. And that was so bad. That was horrible. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had a feeling that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's so horrible. Yeah, that's another thing too.
I'd
Real quick.
also hop on the knocker balls. So the
Yeah.
soccer knocker balls, whatever you want to call them. Some pretty significant claims there. So if you guys are looking to keep your insurance costs down, I would avoid those units as well. The issue was the design initially. There wasn't enough distance between the top of your head and the top of the ball. So especially the knockoff versions, it was shorter distance. So for somebody like me with a lot of hair and a lot of cushion on the top, it probably wouldn't be that much of a big deal. But when you basically hit two together, they had two heads that came together like this. So you had some significant brain injuries there. So I would avoid those.
They're so bad. Listen, I've done knocker ball or they're Zorb balls. There's a million names for them.
Well, Zorbs are the fully enclosed ones. Those ones are okay as long as
the Zorb.
Yeah, as long as you keep
not
them on
in New
a
York
track.
State, you're not allowed to have them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But no, yeah. Though, listen, and then no, they're not okay too. And the reason they don't have them in New York State is because people freaking pass out inside them.
Mm-hmm.
Within you're only supposed to do like 15-minute intervals or something like that in those things because like people like suffer. Those things can get bad too. True. But what was I saying? So literally, like I've never seen anything good come from a game of freaking knocker ball. Like especially when there's like athletic men involved.
Right.
Like I'm just telling you, like it's just bad. And no matter what you tell them, don't run at each other. Like they, even if you tell them you can only get 6 steps or whatever, they will get the meanest 6 steps they could possibly get within that distance, and that's what they're trying to do. It's just that I don't know about that. But I want to get into something too because we're talking about all these things, all these unsafe things. Stop putting them in your videos. You got 6 kids going up a slide. Stop putting it in your commercial. You got kids coming down freaking water slides and pool floaties and stuff. It's not how the manufacturer intended it. If Cossio sees that, your insurance is going to probably go up. And then if you have that out there and you actually, God forbid, do get a claim, a lawyer's going to eat you up. Because, so just that, what I mean? That like I have YouTube videos and I still slip up all the time with, that should be changed there. That should be changed there. So it's like, you got to be on point. You cannot be putting what I mean? Oh yeah, it looks fun when there's 6 kids going down the slide, but does it look fun to you, Alex?
That was actually a good segue to the next thing, was allowing parents to go down the slides with their kids. So a lot of times the kid will be scared or apprehensive to go down the slide by themselves, so the parent climbs up there with them, trying to be the good parent, and they put them in their lap or they slide down next to them. They hold on to them, for that matter, and you can really hurt somebody doing that. So you need to have that in your rule set, that if they can't go down by themselves, they can't have an adult go up there with them and put them in their laps. What ends up happening is as they come down that slide, they get their arms or their legs stuck in the baffle on the side, and the weight of the adult is actually what breaks the kid's arm or their leg. So don't allow that to happen. Put that in your rule set. You'd be surprised how many people do that, not only just on the rental side, but also in like these indoor inflatable
I've
centers.
seen them do that themselves. I've seen people break their arms and legs themselves getting caught in a baffle with their own weight. So it's just, what I mean? It could happen, let alone you got 2 people. So I grew up in a carnival and that's a normal thing. The kid can't go down. Okay, we can let an adult go with them. That's a very normal thing in the carnival industry. That's actually something when I was trained to do inflatables, I was told that was okay. I'll never do it again. And I have a perfectly cool reason too. I can literally tell people why now. And I have no problem when that little kid cries because, that little kid's probably still alive, isn't crushed, isn't disfigured, and all that stuff on my freaking insurance. So that, what I mean? That's how I feel, in my opinion. The hardest problem with that is now you got to convince your employee to make sure to let that little kid not go on. You know what I mean? Because your employee doesn't care that much. He'd rather save face because, you know what I mean? Because listen, telling you right now, you don't let a little girl on a slide. You might get bad feedback from that, but you can always fight that because you're justified. Whereas in you know what I'm saying? If you're going and just letting them on, they break their arm. Now you're going to be fighting that for a long time. It's probably going to cost you a lot more money than not letting little Susie on the slide because she's literally like 2 feet tall, not even, and can't even climb up the stairs of an 18-foot water slide. So
just blame those mean insurance guys. You can just blame us. That's okay.
exactly.
We'll be that faceless person in the background that you can blame. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. Blame Alex. Give him his phone number. Am I allowed to ask? You're allowed to ask anything. Am I allowed almost anything? Am I allowed to ask now who the dues benefit and why are they required to be insured with Cossio Insurance? Why aren't they required with Oliver Van Dyke and other insurers to get a decent rate? What is he getting at? What dues?
No. He's talking about the PALSIG dues to be part of our program. So, Justin, we actually talked about this before, but that's up to you on that one.
This has actually been brought up a bunch lately. So, can you explain that, dude? Like, what is it? What is he talking? What is the name of it? I can't remember what it is even called. I saw this.
Yeah, it's PALSIG. Is their paintball, airsoft, laser tag entertainment group. So that was what we designed to basically give you guys additional benefits. So you get the digital waiver system, you get discounts on car rentals. There's a bunch of other features that you get, including loss control, risk management.
Is anybody using this stuff?
Yeah, people use it. It's part of our program. A lot of people don't know about it.
Like nobody knows
it, but
okay. So how about we? You know what I mean? Because that's what it sounded like. It was an actual program. It just sounds like people don't utilize it. So how about maybe we should shed some light on this program? There's so many people with Cossio. How can they benefit off this program they're paying for?
Yeah, reach out to us. We'd be happy to walk you guys through it. You guys have access to it. It's tied to your customer ID number, so you have to be an active customer to get the access to the benefits. So if you guys have questions about it, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer it for you.
I like car rentals and stuff like that. In backyard parties, is it hard to control what goes on when I'm not there? Literally, they're going to do whatever they want when you're not there. When you drop something off, they're literally going to do whatever you want. So is your job and due diligence and duty as a business owner to have contract? That's somebody actually, I got to pull up that question because this is going to explain part of that too. Your contract isn't there, so you can't possibly get sued. That's not what the contract's there for. The contract there is there for, so he said, she said, responsibilities laid out flat and plain as day. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't say, like, we all do it. There's a 20-page freaking thing. We just say we read it. If you get called out on that, they're going to say, well, why did you say that you clicked that button on the end and signed for it? You said that you read it. So it's the same thing. Even if they're not going to read the sheets, and half of them don't, and you should sit there and explain it to them. You know what I mean? Even if you go to court, they're going to say you didn't. That's what it's there for. It's just it's an extra layer. So now if they signed the contract on your website and then you bring another one to the thing and then you bring another one at the end, sign this to make sure everything was okay for the party. There was no accidents and everything's happy. And you don't really disguise it as a contract to make sure everything's okay. You just put it as a feedback form. And on there's like accidents and all that stuff. You disguise it as a form, but really it's okay, so you know what I mean? Here's all the rules, and at the end, there was no accidents, right? And if they do say that, that's when you can actually enable your your participant accident policy too. So it's really just paperwork to cover your butt. That's it. Because you know what I mean? You're still could get sued even if you have all that stuff there, but it actually proves that you weren't negligent and proves at least what should be happening on this rental. You know what I mean? Like what are the expectations of this rental? Not sign your life away. What do you? What did I get? Did I get that one good enough for you? Don't have to say anything. Or?
I mean, that's pretty good, man. That's that's honestly what's supposed to happen. The big thing you have to remember there is that when you go set up these people's houses, I mean, they have homeowners insurance. That's supposed to cover them for any type of injury that occurs on their house or on their premises. So A lot of times the issue is that the homeowner or the person who's organizing that backyard party, they're not going to care as much as the operator does as far as enforcing those safety rules. So if there is an injury, they're looking for somebody else to basically hold that L, as they say. They don't want to take responsibility for it themselves. So that's why you need the rule set. You need to make sure that they initial off on each rule set. Make sure that the rule set matches the equipment that you set up. So you need to make sure that if you have tables and chairs, you have to make it so idiot-proof almost that you have a way of covering your own butt, right? So don't stand on a chair. You want to make sure that it's very clearly stated that there's a weight limit. Don't tilt back in the chair. You need to keep all all four legs on the ground. I know you guys are up in Buffalo. You guys like to do the whole crazy table jumps. Yeah, so don't allow them to do that.
Can we talk about how somebody's suing Gorilla Glue because it says not to put the glue in their hair? It doesn't say that or something. Yeah. So let's just, let's just use that as an example, people. You can get sued for whatever. So, Am I going to don't smash my tables in Bill's events? If I do, it'd probably only be for humorous. Because, you can only protect yourself so far without making a contract 7 pages long.
Right.
Because so like I can oh, if the world ends, I'm not liable, and sign this, that, and whatsoever. But but I'm not going to do all that. So but I'm going to do what's important and what is definitely required. Everything that my insurance agency want, like on their basic one, you have to have that and more. You can't really omit anything from it.
Yeah. The other big thing is just to make sure that there's a spot on there saying that they are going to supervise that unit at all times. It's not going to be left unsupervised because usually that's when claims happen.
Or they understand enough to show somebody else the same rules and they can watch it.
Right.
So there's, there's some states make you actually teach them and sign them off as a certified operator. So now they're a certified operator or whatever because you're a certified trainer. Mm-hmm. You have to be a certified trainer in a certain state, and then you get certified. If you're a certified trainer, you can actually train people to be operators. So then you train the homeowner to be an operator, and now, you're a trained operator. You heard about that, right? Or
yeah. Remember we talked about that last time. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations on how to go about some stuff? Of stuff like someone said on the EPA roundtable. We don't talk about EPA in here. No, I'm just kidding. Said on the EPA roundtable last night about YouTube videos with the rules. I don't know what you mean, Vanessa.
She's talking about Alejandro.
You're in there.
Yeah, so
I love Alejandro.
This guy, he's a very bright guy. I'd highly recommend you reach out to him, see how he set up the video. He actually had like a safety, it was almost like an animated cartoon type of deal. So you show that, he'd have his driver actually show that to the renter. They'd have to watch the video and then sign off on it using the phone.
Yeah, I'm actually doing the same thing. We've actually been talking. Now I know what you're talking about. Me and him actually have been talking about some of this stuff. I'm trying to get the same thing. Same thing with snow cone machines. You should be getting how-tos for those and stuff like that when people are renting certain items. Just because I don't want to explain all this shit again all the time or stuff. I'm sorry. I don't want to explain all this stuff every single time. It kind of gets a nuance and you forget things. So if you have a well-made video with all the facts, that's honestly, I honestly say that's better than because there's less chance of error. Because you know what I mean? We've already you know what I mean? It's the same video. Oh, you missed something? Watch it again.
Right. They have to sign off on it saying that they watched it too. So, it's just another way for you to CYA and, just make sure that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that they know exactly what it is that they're supposed to do and what they're not allowed to do as well.
$20K about right?
Again, it depends on the carrier that you're with. So some carriers have a flat charge. They'll say, "Oh, well, you have a mechanical bull. It's $5,000 or it's $5,500 just because you have a mechanical bull." Others do not charge for mechanical bull. They just lump it into your total sales, but you're probably going to end up paying a higher premium just in general. So they won't have a flat charge, but maybe your minimum premium starts off at $25,000. We have another carrier. They have a minimum premium of $2,500, but they charge per bull. So it could be, if you have one mechanical bull, you're looking at $7,500 as a minimum, just off top.
Okay, so
And
you want
also,
to get a
let me
bull,
stop there. If you want to get a bull, also make sure you're not getting a bull from a non-reputable manufacturer. So I would say that Galaxy is definitely kind of the cream of the crop. It's universally accepted by pretty much any insurance company. They've done an amazing job as far as the risk management on their devices. They've done a ton of work to make sure that they're as safe as possible. So if you're looking to get a unit and you're unsure about which bull to go with or which manufacturer, if you're just wanting to make sure that it's accepted by pretty much any insurance company, I would go with the Galaxy. You have other manufacturers like VIV or All American. I would just make sure that it's American made. Don't get something that's made in China.
what about Action Rides? Steve still makes bulls,
I
don't he?
don't know.
I'm pretty sure he makes everything, dude.
He does make everything. He makes some cool stuff. He makes some really cool stuff.
Every time I talk, I make that. Oh, he copied my design. Look, I love
Steve.
Steve.
Cool stuff. I don't know if Steve's
Dude,
on, but Steve, you make cool stuff, man.
He's old school, man. He'll see this sometime or whatever. Steve's cool, man. Best way is taking cash only. Then insurance will not have a way to check your gross, and then you're gonna get a lower insurance. So if you guys don't know Polska Orchard, just this is like person just don't do what this person says every single time you're posting wild stuff.
Here's the reason why you don't want to do that. That is called insurance fraud. You don't do that. If you guys are doing more in sales, you need to report that, because otherwise you're committing insurance fraud. So just keep that in mind.
You wonder why the insurance people literally just shake their heads and stuff some of this stuff. You wonder why our premiums are so high. Am I right? No. What do we have to have? Why do we have to have it? Are you talking about? I think they're probably talking about the. I think they're talking about the dues or whatever, the paintball thing.
Why do we have to have it?
That's not a that's a requirement that do, right?
The audit or the
what is it? You said paintball and entertainment and stuff like that.
It's
I think Justin was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to get into our exclusive programs, you have to pay for your dues. We had somebody in the comments that was talking about ARA insurance. He had to pay his membership dues to get access to the insurance. So it's the same concept, guys.
Go blow up ARA now.
Oh, God.
I understand. You know what I mean? Some people listen, dude. I was curious, but I'm not going to jump down your throat like that. Some people in this industry do. Some people are less subtle than others. Justin's my boy, though. I just wish he would calm down sometimes. He's about to move to Florida. He should actually be relaxing a lot now. Who is this guy? I want to be friends. Me? You want to be my friend? Hi. Alex is cool too. He'd be your friend. He's married though.
All right.
Taking. I don't know what you're referring to. Do you have any recommendations on how to adjust our contract as we add in concessions and tables and chairs? So I think ERS has a contract, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't gotten to this point yet. I actually have to get my contract on ERS. But isn't it fluid? So if they order a cotton candy machine, it puts the cotton candy stuff into the contract. But if they don't have the cotton candy stuff, it takes that stuff out of the contract. If anybody's from ERS here, there's 31 people. I know there's got to be somebody that actually knows what they're talking about with ERS, because I'm still new with all that. Hopefully Ishmael's still here because he'll know. Do you know about that offhand at all?
As far as adding things into ERS, no,
not adding things into ERS. What I'm saying is, if you add a snow cone machine to your order, does it automatically add the snow cone? Because I know it adds the rules and stuff on there, but I don't know if it adds that information. It can add that information to the contract, like, okay, don't plug in, you know what I mean, the snow cone machine into a little thin cord or something, or you know what I mean. Don't stick the snow cone machine in a bathtub, like you know what I mean.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
will that pop up? But it's not going to be on there every single time you rent something. But it might only show up when you actually order that. I think ERS does something similar to that. It might just be rules though. So and you have to have specific things for overnight rentals that they sign off on. Yeah,
Right.
I'm pretty sure that is true too, because if you have like you have to make sure they bring the blower inside is one of them.
Yep.
And then
You have to
isn't there
secure the
something
blower.
else?
Yeah, you just have to secure the blower stored inside or at a basically away from the unit, so that way you don't have somebody using the unit without your knowledge. It's kind of like if you had a pool where you have to have a fence around it. It's just a way to kind of keep some of the people from seeing it as an attractive nuisance. So you get some kids in the neighborhood that see it blown up and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna go bounce on it real quick while everybody's asleep." And
Okay.
then you have an injury, and that's where you want to make sure that you have it stored inside.
So it's not an automatic thing, but it's something they can set up for you. And it looks like it'll take time. You got to have exactly what you want said, and they can have that pop in. So, yeah, you might want to put a field in there, because one of these days I'm gonna have like 30 or 40 different things that's gonna be coming towards tech support. I'm waiting. I hear horror stories, but like ERS has got some on point tech support, dude. I actually, well, so does IO and BCM. I hear so much, like all these people are stepping up their game. So they're like that. I hear so much like crap talking about like years prior to, and like just this whole year in general, these past 2 years, like I like to give a round of applause for everybody in this industry. Everybody's like, you know what I mean? You're hopping on here doing videos now. IO is doing videos now. Rob's got Noah online doing videos. This stuff really matters. Getting this information out to people really means a lot to me. What are you talking about, Justin? You've had to add it in. I need to know the best wording. I guess we add concessions and tables and chairs. This is an ERS question. Let's keep to insurance. But that, you know what I mean?
So if you're talking about suggested rules, it's probably like before, like, hey, don't let them, or have it somewhere like a rule set saying, hey, don't, it's not
Don't
allowed
stand on
to
the
use.
chair.
Yeah, don't stand on the chairs. Don't lean back in the chair. Keep all 4 feet on the ground. The table stuff. You have a weight limit, right? So make sure you put the weight limits on your rental contract as well. Saying, hey, don't put oversized stuff. Don't sit on the tables. I mean, it's crazy things like that you probably wouldn't think about, because people can do dumb things. So, but that's why you have the accident policy as well, for people doing stuff like that, where it's it's not a liability issue, it's not a negligence issue, it's more so people just getting hurt doing their own silly things. So
my bad, Vanessa. I hear what you're saying now. I've been up since 3 a.m. last night. I read that something different. I'm sorry about that. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that it definitely can come in handy. I definitely want to do that myself, but I don't. It like, I guess you can get in trouble, like, you know what I mean. But I'm paying for insurance, so I don't even, you know what I mean. I'm not, if they're gonna stand in a chair and I'm getting sued for that, I'm not trying to fight that every day. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean. Like that's, you win. Let's go to court, I guess. Like, you know what I mean. Like, I don't, you know what I mean. I don't know. Like,
that's where you say, hey, look, I have an accident policy. So sorry that happened to you because you stood on a chair and you lost your balance because you were drunk. Here's an accident policy will help take care of the medical bills. Sorry you had to go to the doctor and get your broken arm fixed. And then you file an accident claim. You don't want to have to, basically defend yourself in court for something like that, because again, somebody did something stupid and they're just looking for a way to pay for their medical bills. And that's why you use the accident policy first.
If you rent a dunk tank, yes, I think all the rules for the dunk tank should automatically go into the contract. It needs to, actually, because dunk tanks actually come with their own rules anyways and their own waiver. But stuff like that on that degree, maybe I would go with my machines. Don't dunk them in a bathtub. Some stuff, and I would even try, like, I don't even know if I would try and become humorous a little bit. Could you get in trouble trying to put humorous in a contract?
It's not a play type of document. You want to make sure that you're pretty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, it's that's what I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I try to like get it both done at once, but I can't, you know what I mean? That's the only way, because the only reason I even say doing that is because just having all that stuff there, nobody wants to read it in the first place. So I guess you could argue if nobody's going to read it in the first place, put whatever you want on there. But if you just have so much, it ends up being like 6 pages. What happens when they order the party package? You know what I mean? And I have to have all my stuff on the tent, and then I have to have all my stuff for the bounce house. Then I have to have tables and chair nonsense, and then I have to have the concession machine. You know what I mean? That's where I can see where it kind of snowballs. But I would definitely like if you hear things that people have been sued for before, that's the type of stuff I put on my contracts because the stuff people really go after a lot. That's, you know what I mean? I hear different things that and rules like I have in my contract that I'm going to charge them like $1 a chair to clean them. I'll never charge that in my life. Or if they don't stack them, 50 cents a chair or something like that. And it's $1 to clean. If they don't stack my chairs the way I brought them, am I going to charge that? No. It's literally just there to get them to put my chairs in place. It's not, you know what I mean? So I want them to read that. So I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of information on there that they're not going to read either. So I don't know. It's a real interesting question though. I am very much for just going way too in depth on something. Like I'm going into this, like just go way too deep. I'm down for it, but I just don't, you know what I mean? When it comes to like tables and chairs, I don't think I would do it. Long story long. Does Cossio cover an accident that happens when we use equipment for personal use or an accident that an employee has on the clock?
An accident that happens when we use equipment for personal use. So no. And an accident that an employee has on, that's going to be a workers' comp claim if the employee gets hurt.
Yep. On the clock employee is a workers' comp.
Yeah, that's going to be a workers' comp claim.
All right. Examples of some stupid stuff people got sued over.
Oh man. Oh God, you can have so many things. A lot of them involve not staking equipment down. You see the inflatables that are blowing around everywhere.
Okay. I almost forgot, and my buddy and Kevin would kill me if I forgot this. I'll let you here go. I'm sorry, I'm not going to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. You go first. You go first.
Because you mentioned the stakes, and Kevin literally was like, "So why?" And I actually did answer this, like, "Why do we have the contract there? If you know what I mean, if I can get sued if I don't call DigSafe, and I put a stake through a fiber optics line." You saw that conversation, right? Kevin was going hard last week, and I agree with him, but it's the world we live in. So if you put a stake through a pipe and you know what I mean, it's on you, ain't it?
Yeah,
exactly. It's on the person who put it through the pipe.
That's why you want to make sure that your renters mark off where the pipes or sprinkler system, water mains, all that stuff.
Here's his question though. So even if they mark it and you hit a pipe, is it still on you?
It can be. Yeah, you can get sued for anything.
That's what I keep trying to explain. It's horrible. But the thing is, they could be wrong and stuff like that. And they also don't mark certain things. And it says right on that they're not liable and can't be wrong. But just like you had your contract saying you can't be liable, they're saying they can't be liable. But that's just a deterrent, so you might actually not try and sue them. Whereas, and they probably could be liable if they gave you the wrong information and then you staked into the ground. Whereas, and of course, they're going to say they're not liable because why would you not? You know what I mean? You definitely want to try and cover your butt. So that's Kevin. That's your answer, Kevin. I was trying to. He's not here. He's actually doing MMA right now. But I told him I would ask that for you. Like other things, stupid. Like people get sued over. I remember. Well, I wouldn't call it stupid, but it's aggressive. You had that. Like let's get into the sexual molestation policy. We didn't talk about that. That's
yeah. That's
talk about stupid.
Yeah, so I mean that's one thing that if you guys supplied the employees or the attendants for the rides, you definitely you should always just as a general practice get background checks on all of your employees. But if you do not have sexual abuse and molestation coverage, if you get accused or somebody brings some sort of a suit against you because there was alleged abuse or touching kind of deal, you don't have insurance under or coverage under your general liability policy unless you have a sexual abuse and molestation endorsement. So I wouldn't say it's stupid, but it's one of those little nuances of insurance that you need to make sure that you guys are thinking about. The majority of people, they rent the equipment, they just set it up and then they leave. But if you provide the attendance, if they get accused of something like that, you're going to be paying for that defense out of your own pocket because your liability policy isn't going to cover you for that, at least unless you have the endorsement. So the example that we used was a guy down in Florida, and he had a really great business. He was, basically making, 6 figures in a summer, in Florida. And one of his employees was a creep, and he didn't know. It wasn't like it was him doing it, but apparently this guy was, contacting, young girls basically and saying, hey, like, I'll let you slide down the slide for free, but send me pictures or blah, blah, blah. And, he was trying to meet up with them, and he got sued. And, the parents found out about it. They brought it to the attorneys, and the guy lost his business over this whole thing. And it was an employee. It wasn't even his own action. So, if you guys are worried about that stuff, again, there are insurance products out there for it. If you don't supply attendance, it's probably not as big of a risk for you. But if you do, all it takes is somebody to accuse you. It's really hard to defend yourself against that type of claim, but much less to pay for it.
So wait a second, though. If that's what happened, is it even if he's an attendant? Because he was messaging, that guy was messaging people? Wouldn't that, so technically if my employee just started messaging people and I didn't have that, couldn't I still be liable now?
Well, that was the thing, was he was
actually on the job doing shit too?
He was on the job. Yeah, he was basically grooming them or catching them when they were on the slide, and then trying to meet up with them later. And so,
so it wasn't on the internet.
No.
Okay.
This was while he was set up on the beach, and then he was trying to meet up with them later.
Let's just say somebody is on. Say one of my employees do that. Is that a lawyer question, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be a lawyer question. That's the thing, is it's an accusation. Well, if you don't have that endorsement, you have no.
We're telling people that you really don't need it unless you have somebody, like doing pay for play events and having manned events. You're not going to really, you technically should, because we even said that on the other video, where basically, you don't necessarily need it. It's very, very unlikely, but it sounds like it's more likely than not now, if that's the case with the online stuff. Because, dude, I can go message any one of your kids right now, anybody watching this, like, seriously, if I want. It's not, Facebook is ridiculously easy. It's horrible. So that's, that's scary to me. What's to stop one of my employees from going on the reviews of my Facebook page and finding the party I did last weekend or something, and stalking them and trying to, that's where my head's going with all this stuff. Like, that's technically got me liable for it. How much is the policy for the year? It's another cheap one, ain't it?
Yeah, I think it's probably like $500 or something to add it for the year. So it's not horrible.
Oh, it's not as cheap than the other ones, but.
No, but that's the thing, is there's other caveats to it. You have to get background checks on all your employees, which again, I think you should do as a standard practice. But that is
especially in this industry.
That coverage. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just open up a can of worms there. That's really that's got me thinking now. You should. I know you got lawyer buddies. You should bring that for the next live stream. We'll bring the answer.
Lawyers make my life a living hell, man. So I try to stay away from those guys if I can.
You got some on your side, probably, don't you?
Yeah, but I just try to avoid it. Especially when you see what lawyers would torture in an insurance policy, it just drives me up the wall. See what they can do, and they try to twist words and.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into this right now on a live stream. Different topic. I do costume character rentals, and we do not rent out the costumes. Are we required to have the costumes insured?
So you provide the entertainment?
Yep.
Then yes, you still need to have insurance for that. You don't have to insure the suits themselves, but yes, you do need to insure the action, because if you're in your costume and you hit somebody in the face, or you break somebody's really expensive thing in their house, you need to have the general liability policy for that.
Yes. What is the policy you were talking about? Sexual molestation policy, probably. I think that's what we were talking about for a while, Vanessa. But all right, everybody, it's 9:08. The tent guy is going to be on in 20 minutes. He's got a another live stream going on. If you're on YouTube and if you're in the future, when this is not actual live anymore, and you actually got to this point, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. And I would just happy you guys actually were here and you're actually enjoying all this stuff and getting all this information. Alex Cossio is from Cossio Insurance. Give him a call. You can check him out on all the Facebook groups. What was it? Reinsuranceinflatables.net.com or something?
Oh yeah, just the main websites. Yeah, CossioInsurance.com, COSSIO. If you guys are just looking for basic information or you just wanted to get a quick estimate, there's actually a pop-up there for you guys to use if you don't want to go through the full application. If you had questions about a certain policy, there's a chat widget there for you guys to use. It's all through EventHawk, so you have the ability to kind of text message. It's a little bit easier to kind of communicate without having to get buried in your email inbox. So happy to answer any questions you have.
So now Polska Orchard comes with a good question.
What's the percentage insurance it takes from gross? So again, depends on the items that you have.
Everything.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
Everything.
It just really depends. Orchard. If it's a table and chair, it's gonna be a lower percentage than say an inflatable or a mechanical bull.
It depends. Mm-hmm. It's not a la carte shopping. It is on your end, but we don't get to see it. I don't even know that, dude. Insurance is crazy. Everybody, if you have more questions, feel free to hit up Alex. Feel free to hop on. We're gonna try and do some more stuff like this. I think I might want to have Alex on here again. I might want to try and get another insurance guy on though. Keep it fair. But you know what I mean. You're one of the bigger guys in the industry, and you definitely got a lot of experience, reputation as a company. But I definitely want to have some other people and some other views on here, anyways. But you're definitely my boy, so I got you on here, Alex. But all right, everybody, check out the videos, check out YouTube, check out the Facebook group, links in the description. Yeah, I don't know what I'm waiting here anymore for. I just like listen to myself talk, I guess. Bye.